started. Welcome everyone. I'm Laura Jaramillo. We have Kate Fletcher and Sarah Austin here with me this morning. Sarah is the interim manager for Milan, and so welcome. We're glad to have you this morning. Our format is typically we share some items, projects we're working on, initiatives. You're welcome to jump in, ask questions along the way. It's very informal. This morning I invited our fire department here, and I wanted them to share a little bit about what they do. They do a lot of amazing work in the community that you may not realize. So I'm going to start out first, and then I'll turn it over to the fire department. So I wanted to share a little bit about the history museum that's going up in the old library. We have a group of volunteers, part of the Historic Society, that have been working a little over a year, I believe. Time goes so fast. And they're creating a historical museum. And every time I go in there, I am just so amazed at the work they've done. And it's all volunteer work. The city does pay for the utilities on the building. We feel like they're doing this in our behalf, collecting a lot of great artifacts. So I wanted to make you aware, and any time that they are open, typically on Thursdays, the volunteers are there and they have board meetings, and periodically it's advertised or posted different places that they're having an open event. But if you get a chance, I would definitely visit there. They have some very unique items that I think you'll find very amazing. I passed out a sheet on the tables for you about the recreation economy for rural communities. The City of Grants was one of 10 communities across the nation that were selected to participate in this program. And it's basically, it's facilitated through the EPA, which I thought was a little odd, but it's probably one of those initiatives where the EPA has to do other things besides compliance in the communities. And so we put in an application. The Council of Governments helped us, and we're asking for assistance to help us to try to market our outdoor recreation as a tourism and economic vitality initiative. And so this group is going to come in. I had a phone call with them a couple of weeks ago, and they're going to come either early March or early April. They're trying to schedule with all 10 communities. They will come in for 2 days. They will tour our area and then work with us to come up with a strategic plan on how we can market our outdoor recreation opportunities. And so that is something, if many of you have visited Moab. Moab was a mining community just like Grants, uranium mines, I believe, and when the mines went bust, they've really tapped into outdoor recreation, and it's a thriving community. If you ever visit there, they have a lot of wonderful outdoor things to do and events. And so that's kind of the idea that we're looking at, is how can we tap into that market.
Yeah, it took them a while, because when my kids moved up north, we had to go through Moab. In '91, there was only one restaurant, just a few things, you know. And then over the years, they got all that stuff going,
yeah. And that's good to hear, because sometimes we get discouraged because it takes so long to see development, but it's an opportunity that we feel is some low-hanging fruit for our community. Yes?
You said 1 out of 10. How did we get selected?
Well,
smart.
You know, I think we had a good application, but we were part of the semi-finalist, and they did a conference call. And I was a little nervous because I invited all of our partners to come for the conference call, and nobody was RSVPing, and I was like, oh, you know, who's coming? Well, we had about 15 people, 15 organizations show up, you know, the Main Street, the county, the village. We had several partners show up, the chamber, economic development, the Forest Service. And we all contributed on that call, and I could just feel, it felt really good. The call felt good, and I felt like we were going to get selected because I felt like we made an impression. So this is great. It's not money, but I talked to the team, and the team, which was good to know, they work with rural communities. So, you know, it's one thing to create something from Albuquerque or even Las Cruces, bigger cities, but it's much tougher, I think, in rural communities to get things going. And so these experts that are coming in have worked with other rural communities across the country, so they'll be able to share how some overcame challenges similar to ours. So I'm very excited. And I believe there will be a public part of it where the public will be invited in. We have a steering committee, which are the people who participated on the call, but there will be some public input times, and so you'll be invited to come and help us, you know, talk about how can we promote that outdoor recreation. From my point of view, our biggest challenge is going to be getting businesses like a bike store and, you know, that sells bike equipment or ski equipment or outdoor equipment. That's our biggest challenge, even getting restaurants to open. And so as a city manager, that's kind of what I'm really tuning in on. How do we promote that? We're not really supposed to be opening businesses, and your city government and your county and village don't really, that's not our role, but how can we promote that and encourage that somehow?
You know what it does? It comes with the tourism. I watched Moab because I was going through there every year because we have grandkids up north. And so you see them little by little with steps. They started off and they only had maybe another restaurant, something like that. It's like with 10 years before they got all that stuff going they got now, with 10 or 15 years. So that stuff wasn't there like in 2001. It was like just getting going. And now with it, they're starting to build these homes for the people that come by there, like condos and things. They're building a lot of stuff there now, and more motels. But it took a while because, you know, and then they still don't have enough people to have a Walmart. I talked to the locals. There's only 300 and some people for the locals, so they can't have a Walmart because they depend on the tourists. But they have all the shops, and they have more motels. But still, they don't have enough locals to depend on. So they just don't have one of those. But they have plenty. But the restaurants kept coming as the tourists kept coming. And the stores kept coming as the tourists kept coming.
Yeah, it's kind of the chicken before the egg, or, you know, which comes first, because we need restaurants so that people will come, but then they need business too. Joanne, were you going to say something?
I was going to. A few years ago, Tammy and I attended the Trails event in Silver City, and what I noticed over there that was really successful is they had like vendors that sold hiking boots, hiking equipment. Even they just had a booth, they didn't necessarily have a store, and that might be a good way to bring a store here. Since we have for the Seven Trails event tried to attract some of those vendors to our event without any success. So anything anyone can do to help to try and get those vendors here.
So a lot of communities are starting with what's called pop-up tents, where you come for a few days, maybe you don't have a store, but then it generates the energy, and then eventually you have enough customers you could open a store.
And they collect zip codes to find out where the people that are buying these items are from. And that's how they attract these businesses.
Interesting. Yeah. First Street. First Street is on hold for a little bit. I have a meeting tomorrow with the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, Harry Garcia, and I, and our projects person will be up there, and we're going to be asking for additional money. So we're short about $1.2 million for First Street. We've obtained, the design is done, and we've obtained most of the money, and we thought we had enough to do the project, but when the bids came in, they were rather high, and the reason First Street was so high was because of the chlorinated plume. So there's some dirt work that has to be done. They're going to be taking out some of the contaminated dirt and bringing in new dirt, and that was about $800,000 of the bid. So we're very hopeful that we might be able to get some more money tomorrow. We understand the Department of Transportation has extra dollars, and so we'll be on our knees tomorrow begging, can we please have a little extra to get that done?
Good luck.
Yeah. Economic development, strategic planning session. So many of us, all of the government entities are part of the Economic Development Foundation. We are having a strategic planning session the weekend of November 16th. And so we'll be working as a community, talking about how can we push economic development in our community. And I like to let the community know that we are working on that, because I think that's a big concern of everybody, and sometimes they feel like the government doesn't really focus on that, but we are. And so I thought I would let you know we're having a big strategic planning session to do that.
And Laura, is that open to everybody?
No, it's just open to the board at this point, yes. We are putting in several applications for funding. So the city and Main Street just put in an application through the state Main Street for what's called the Great Blocks Grant. And we were asking for about $100,000 to help us with downtown Main Street to start developing the amenities to do things like slow down traffic, put possibly one lanes both ways, and create better parking, more benches, more lighting, that kind of stuff. And so it's part of the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area Plan that we developed a few years ago. And that grant is very competitive, so I don't know, they're only going to award 2 communities, and I'm anticipating there are many main streets across the state that will apply. We also put in for an NMFA application for $50,000 to, well actually no, we put in for $1.5 million on that one. We're looking to rehab well number 3. We have 3 wells, and well number 3 is our main source of water, and that well is getting quite old and needs some rehab. So we put in a request for funding for that. And then we also put in a request in partnership, we're working closely with the county on doing a grant for feasibility study to check on the feasibility of paving the road to La Mosca. And I think many of you have been here and we've talked about that idea to pave the road to La Mosca to it would be the highest paved road in New Mexico if it were paved, and there are a lot of people across the country that travel and like to drive the highest paved roads. So we think that would be a great tourism initiative. So we've applied for a feasibility grant, we're in the process of doing that right now, through the state for $50,000 to see if it's a feasible project and doable. Election, just wanted to let people know, city elections will be coming up March 3rd. We have 2 council positions open. We have Councilor Vasquez's position, which is District 1, and we have Cindy Reynolds' position, which is District 3. Those 2 positions will be open. If you're interested in running for those, you need to file that you're interested by January 7th. And if you can get more information from our city clerk, but I asked our staff, I believe there was something in the paper yesterday, for us to really try to advertise that, because I don't know that we've always done a good job letting the public know that these positions are coming open, and we might generate additional interest in more people who might want to run for those positions. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to the fire department. We have Chief Hayes and Sergeant Mays here today.
Well, not quite.
Not quite, Sergeant?
Not quite, Sergeant.
Okay, I don't know the rankings very well, but.
Well, good morning. I'm happy that the city manager was able to invite us. I brought my admin assistant, Jessica Venable, and our brand new, shiny still, EMT. Got his licensure on Tuesday.
Great,
So
good job.
over a year's worth of work.
Good job.
He was tapped today to come and chat about a few of the things that we do. My lieutenants who are on, may have been here, they're at a training for pre-hospital trauma right now in Milan with PHI. So they're trying to get their CEs, which is something that is constant with us. We're always having to get education units to keep up our certifications and our knowledge. So with that, I will let Bryn Mays chat a few moments about all the good stuff that we've got going on.
Just a quick rundown on what we do. We do any fire, EMS, and rescue in the city of Grants and in the county. We do automatic aid with the village of Milan, so anytime they have an emergency, such as a fire and extrication, we go to their village. Vice versa, they come into Grants and assist us. We cover county for Lobo Canyon all the way up Mount Taylor. We do EMS and extrication and fire up there. We cover extrication all of 117. Extrication meaning if anybody's in a vehicle accident and they're trapped, we go out there with our heavy rescue and cut them out. We do it all the way down 117 for the Fence Lake area. We go just about to El Moro on South 53. We cover that area for county. We've been all the way to past the McKinley County line. I don't know if you guys remember the mass casualty incident where the Greyhound bus was involved. We sent our heavy rescue and 2 ambulances out there to assist with that. We've been called all the way to the 124 mile marker. I'm not sure if you guys know what that's at. That's where the Los Lunas turnoff is for State Road 6. We were requested there by Laguna Fire to assist them with an extrication. That just shows how well we're trained and how much people can depend on us. We've ran 2,256 calls to this day. That's an increase of 50% from last year, and we're still not done with the year, so that just shows how much we've been increasing. I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything you guys want to...
He's new, so be kind. You can tell he's a little nervous. He's one of our up-and-coming firefighters in the agency, so I've asked him to come and chat for a day.
So how many firefighters are there?
At this moment, there are 10 of us. 8 of them are trained, Fire 1, Fire 2. 2 of them are in their probationary year, so they're just getting started. They haven't been to any trainings yet, just besides in-house.
What about volunteers?
Volunteers, we have maybe 3 active, and which 2 of them work for Albuquerque Fire Rescue, so we can't depend on them 100%. So it's so maybe 1 active, and he also has a job. He's a wildland firefighter, so during the summer he's gone, so we can't depend on him.
So what is the increase in calls? What's the difference? Is it traffic accidents?
It's EMS, fire, and vehicle accidents. And
so all 3 are
all 3.
higher.
And I believe part of it has to do with us not taking over, but assisting the county. Because, nothing against the volunteers, it's just they don't have the training. So that's why we're here as a career department, is if they ask for help, we're more than happy to go out to these rural communities around us to assist them.
What is the person to do if they want to volunteer to be work in the fire department?
You have to live within the city of Grants. You just come by our office, or Jessica's office, Monday through Friday, business hours, 8 to 4:30, and pick up an application. We run them through a background check. It's pretty much the same as applying to be a career firefighter. We do a background check because we don't want anybody going into somebody's house that has a bad history. You know what I mean? So we make sure that we don't hire just anybody. We bring people on who want to actually do it.
And they train them and everything?
Yes, we do in-house training. We'll send them anywhere. I've been to myself and about 4 other firefighters. We were in Pueblo, Colorado, for a crew for rail, how to handle a train derailment that carries oil and other chemicals. And we have BNSF runs right through Grants, so that's a great training for all of us to go to. We've had firefighters go out of state quite a few times for big trainings.
So are you fully staffed, or do you need more?
To the city, we're fully staffed, but per NFPA guidelines, no, we're pretty understaffed. Per NFPA, anytime an engine leaves the firehouse, it should have 4 people on it. And when our 2 engines leave the house, it has either 1 person on it or 2 people on it. And we do have a call-out program, so the off-duty personnel have their radios on. And if there's a big emergency such as a fire or an extrication, we can call them out, but we can't depend on them because everybody has a life. They got their kids, grandkids, their wives. And if we were just sitting around listening to our radios all day, that would be hard on us. So I've been at a structure fire with only 4 people, and we get the job done, because we're well trained. But there's times where we wish we could have more. And don't get me wrong, Milan does come and assist us too, and they have Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, there are about 4 or 5 people that are pretty well trained fire too.
But they're all volunteers.
They're all,
except
they're all volunteers. They work at the mine, they work at
So they don't have them to rely on.
railroad
We
companies.
more or less rely on grants.
Grants is the only paid department
In the
within the
county.
county.
Yeah, we're the, well, besides the reservation, but
Yeah.
even there's been times where they turn down calls on the interstate because they don't want to go out there, which is why we respond all the way out to that part of the county. And we're the actually, we're the only heavy rescue truck in the county also, meaning we're the only department in the county that has full extrication equipment. From the jaws of life to cribbing to struts, you name it, our truck has it.
So you respond to non-fire emergencies as well, right?
Yes, ma'am,
So
medical.
then how do you decide whether we should call the police or the fire department if there's an emergency?
That's
Well, if you were just to, yeah, you call 911 and our dispatchers are trained to coordinate that to see what you need.
Our dispatch agency, to answer that, has gone to a mode of collecting information from the caller, and then there is a set pattern of what resources are required at that time. And then they will just tone us all out, and we get to go and do our thing.
So over the years, I've had questions, and I wondered myself before I was city manager why so many emergency vehicles go to a call. And my staff quickly educated me, but a lot of times a call might be, oh, we have an elderly lady fell or something, and they actually get to the home and it's a domestic violence situation where there are guns and knives and stuff. And so if there's only one vehicle, they're more at risk of being harmed than if there are a couple of units coming and they have backup basically to call for assistance if something's wrong. But we have a lot of domestic violence in our community and a lot of drugs and alcohol and stuff. And so it helps keep these guys safe, because I know that was the big complaint that I would hear from people, why are there 3 vehicles responding? But that's the reason why, is for their safety.
And another reason is too, just to add on to what Laura said, we're always ready. So anytime we go to a medical call, we have an ambulance and an engine on scene. There's been times where we're at a medical call and we get dispatched to a structure fire. So if we didn't have our engine there, we'd have to go back to the station, pick up our engine, and then respond to the structure fire. Since we have the engine out in the city already, it's just that much quicker that we get to that emergency.
It's hard to believe that we know that police officers get assaulted by folks all the time. EMS folks get assaulted as well. The ambulance crew, my fire crew have all been assaulted in the city. We don't, say that happens, but it does. Milan, Grants, the county, it happens to all of us.
And are they often domestic violence situations?
It's up and down the gamut. Some people will roll up on for an EMS because they are succumb to drugs and what have you. And we will bring them back to life. And they will be so mad that they will take it out on the crew.
There's a somewhat new program that we have. We are offering Narcan to the city. We carry it on our trucks for ourselves to administer to any patients we may run into. But the public is more than welcome to come to the fire department. We will give them Narcan to prevent overdoses. I'm sorry?
What is that?
Narcan is a blocker of drugs. So if somebody were to take heroin, if they were to take heroin and we administer Narcan, it pretty much creates a big bubble around the heroin and kills it. It doesn't prevent the opioid to do its job. The Narcan goes in and takes over. And I've used Narcan in my 5 years. I can't even count how many times I've used it.
Is it in a shot form?
We use nasal. We have both intramuscular, where we can give it as a shot, and nasal. That's the one we carry. It's 0.4 milligrams. We put 1 in each snare, and usually 9 times out of 10 they wake up within a minute. They wake up pretty upset, ready to fight us. We take away their
upset
highs.
is putting it mildly.
Yeah.
still
It's
combative.
underestimating that.
The Narcan itself reacts with any opioid, so it only works on a certain amount of things. It doesn't work on methamphetamines, it doesn't work on alcohol, only on opioids. We have a large range of what those are here within our county.
Do you know about how many drug overdoses we have in a month here in France?
I don't have those stats, man. I really don't. It varies. 2,256 calls for service within our community. Nationwide, we are 65 to 70% of those calls are EMS. That's not just something new. 30 years ago when I started, I'm up to 39 now, we would go to a lot of extrications, fires, cat in the tree, all those good things. Take care of those. Now we've progressed to EMS. We are the rolling clinic for folks that need help. And we will go 24/7, anything that someone calls 911 for. We don't discriminate and say, oh, we're not going to go to that call. We go to every call that comes in, regardless of what it is.
I'm some
Fire,
Jack of all
police,
trades.
EMS, jack of all trades, that's correct. And Brent has a list, and I know he's not going to be able to go through all these things. We don't only do fire, EMS, and other things within the city. We have a fire prevention program. We just did 13 puppet shows for all the kids, stressing how to get out, don't go to matches, and that firefighters are your friends.
We went to Blue Water Elementary, all elementary schools in the city. Laguna, we went to their elementary school. We were invited to Albuquerque Fire Rescue. They had what they called a hunted tower. They held a program for all the kids in the war zone. So they shuttled kids up to the academy so they can have a safe spot to trick or treat for the night. And we were invited up there to do a puppet show for their program.
They did 4, right?
We did 4 shows that night.
They
Yes.
did four continuous shows for all the kids that came through. They projected about 6,000 children that came that day. Very happy that Albuquerque Fire invited us. I'm sure they'll probably invite us next year as well. And I know that our publisher, is it online somewhere? Portions of it are on our Facebook page. So look at it sometime. It's very, very cute, very, very informative. We do school tours all the time. We do fire extinguisher trainings throughout the community. My crew and I hand out dictionaries to all the 3rd graders in our district. We're up to 9,500 dictionaries. Something that folks don't know. We don't just do fire and EMS. We are the folks that will take care of you when we need to. They're also that organization that will extend ourselves to our community.
Another thing, we are open to ride-alongs, so if anybody in the community is interested, you can come in and fill out paperwork, a liability form, and you can go out and run calls with us and see what we do firsthand. It's also an opportunity for people to take.
The sad part is every time someone comes to do a ride-along, we don't get any calls during the day. Then if someone goes home at 5 o'clock, they'll run until midnight.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Right.
And they look at us, you don't do anything. Well, yeah, we do, it's just not happening right now.
Yeah.
I don't know why, it just happens like that, but yes. Come down to the fire station, meet the firefighters that are there. We're happy that Laura is a champion of what we do. Fire, police, EMS, through her office, enables us to do quite a few things. We've got some large purchases coming up, bunker gear for all the crew, new radios again, because the federal government says we need new radios all the time, so I just bought $20,000 worth of radios, gonna pick them up on Friday. We're getting a new fire truck for the community, should be here in about 6 weeks. I'm praying before the end of the year. $270,000, and I got that through a loan from NMFA and the state. The state loans me money, I pay the state back. It just makes no sense. Yeah, that's the way the government works. We're getting a new fire truck for the community real soon. The heavy rescue truck that Brenda's been talking about is the new addition from January. The big red truck that runs through town. That's our fire rescue truck. We had a little bitty one that we pieced together. They called it the transformer unit. They got a chassis and I built a box and we did this, but it ran out of space. So we're having that. So we do a lot of things for the community. I'm glad that Laura's allowed us to chat about those things. We do an annual report in January coming up again to the City Council. We will reiterate everything that we've done over the entire year. If anybody wants that report, I will give you a copy of it, so you know what we're doing. I'll give you a copy of last year. And you can see progressing through the time since I've been here from 2008 of what our call volume has gone up from. 691 calls in 2008. 681. Now we're up to 2256. And it's the same thing with the police department too. Their call volume is going up as well. So when you see them on the street, we're here to help. Not here to get anybody's way or write you a ticket, but hey, sometimes that happens. Ma'am, do you have anything else for us?
No, thank you very much.
Appreciate the
all
opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. So we'll turn it over to Kate and let her go.
Thank you.
Sarah, yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm actually one of, Commissioner Sarah's here. Thank you for coming, Commissioner. I also have Paul, Ludi, Finance, and Wendy, Procurement. So they're here if you have any questions, because I know I can get kind of boring. So they're there for questions if you have anything for the county and how we procure and how our finances are doing. So I just want to kind of add on to this. In front of you, I put the legislative priorities. So every year, we're connected with the NMAC, which is the New Mexico Association of Counties, and there's 33 counties. And this NMC is put together there's an elected official for each county that's on the board. And through that, they make priorities for all the counties, so they get their lobbyists, and we get together because it's strength in numbers. And we're huge when we get to legislative time in January because we have 33 counties that are agreeing on the same things. So we've learned through the years, it doesn't work going up there with just one thing from one county. If we can work together, strength in numbers, we get a lot done. And this is one of the greatest things that NMC actually does for us. They help us, they lobby, they get the information to the right people, and they continue this on an annual basis. So every year we do a resolution, and I recommend it to the board to pass. They don't just choose those priorities. Those priorities have been going through the years, and we always have success every year, always. And I'm going to add this EMS funding. It's huge. EMS funding, they get hardly anything from the state. Nothing. I get so frustrated, so I don't want to really go on, but fire departments get a formula through their insurance, and it goes through the PRC, and every single fire department, whether it's volunteer or anybody, can apply for it, and you get money on an annual basis. You get a lot. I mean, it's depending on how big it is and what you have in your, if you have 2 trucks, you can actually get graded, and the lower it is, the more money you have. So, for instance, you could have an ISO rating of 9, and you average from the state about 50,000 from the state to the fire department. So they can get their bunker gear, they can stay up with the regulations, try to. They can purchase vehicles. At EMS, same EMS, volunteer, in the middle of nowhere, they receive on average $7,000 to run on an annual basis. That's the difference. 50,000, and you said 75% on average in rural areas. It's 90% EMS medical calls to 5% fire. So 7,000 to 50,000. So this EMS fund that we've been working on for many, many years, and we're working on the Bureau, the EMS Bureau, they're on board with us. They need this. So if you do see any representatives, congressmen, anybody that you know, please add that, because it's getting dangerous. And that's why we're joining a lot of our fire departments, because we have to, we have to utilize the money the best way we know how. So a lot of volunteer fire departments will be joining with EMS departments, so the fire departments can help with the utilities and stuff with that cost, with that expense, because they need more money for medical. So I just wanted to say you guys are really important, and not just on local areas, everywhere. The state knows how important that is for funding. So that's one of our priorities. But anyway, I left you a copy, so if you've got any questions, come on in. I don't want to be boring. Yes?
And does any of this go to their salaries?
No.
You know,
No.
Salaries could be some of the problem why you don't have as many people here doing some of the work or wanting to come here to do the work, because the salaries are so low they can get a better salary going somewhere else.
You're right. I mean, there's so many pieces of the puzzle.
High schoolers saying, hey, I can make a pretty good living just right here in this town doing what I'm wanting to do. Do you know, but they can't, they want to go somewhere else where they can make more money, even starting pay than what you can get flipping burgers. So.
We have a paid EMS here, and they work very well closely with all the fire departments. And you're right, EMTs work hard. I was an EMT, and I loved every minute of it, but I learned a lot, and it's something that you don't take lightly, so congratulations. My first day, I picked up my license in the mail. I literally was leaving the post office and a call came out with a suicide. So it was like, why am I doing this? I don't know why I'm doing it anyway. So I just know the stress, so thank you. Audit, we have our auditors here. They've got like 2 more days. Wendy's kind of funny, I have to tell this joke. So Wendy is my POC, point of contact with the auditors. And last year it was crazy. I mean, they were asking questions and questions, and poor Wendy was the first year, and she's got to send everything through the portal, and they were questioning and questioning. So I called her out the other day, and I said, how's it going? She goes, Kate, there's something wrong. I was like, what's wrong? They haven't asked me for anything. She was all paranoid, but anyway, so it was I told her that might be a good thing, so, but well done, Wendy. She's doing a great job, and the auditors are very impressed. The projects, Judy and Anna are working on multiple projects. We have the money you're talking about, DOT funding. We got extra funding this year from DOT to do 18B, the road 18B. There's a lot of issues there, huge issues. So we got 900,000. So we'll be working on that. We've got the agreement, we've signed it. We're waiting on DOT now to execute it, and we'll be on our way. So. Training, I'm training a lot of employees right now. There's a lot of new training possibilities out there through Albuquerque, so they're all traveling and trying to learn. I am a very big supporter on training. Government changes all the time. I mean, the regulations, everything, so we need to try and stay up so we know what's coming down the pipe. So, hospital update, I've been directed by the commission to continue working with our legal team to get a strong, healthy management contract. And that's our first thing we're doing. Legal is working with their legal, and I'm confident that we can get a very strong agreement. I know there's rumors out there, I know there's talk out there. If you want to hear, I don't want to spiel it now, but there's a lot of facts too. And sometimes those facts don't come out. So if you want to hear sort of what we've learned in the year and past, please come on by. Yes, they do want to purchase it. We're unable to sell it at this time, but they do have money, and we're reiterating to them all the time that they are in control of that money. That is for the health of all of us. So they have quite a bit of money that they can upgrade whenever if they want to upgrade their ER, they can. They have a lot, they can do it. So I'm reiterating that please, if you need to upgrade, upgrade. It's for the best of our community, of all of us. We need that. So if you want to hear more, come on down. I'm learning on a daily basis. So procurement, we've put a credit card policy out. I'm hoping the commission will approve it. We cut credit cards a 1.5 years ago when I started because it was out of control, and so we stopped everything. I feel confident now that we have 2 credit cards in the whole county, and that's it. And those 2 are managed through the procurement and finance, because when we do trainings and we go to hotels, it is cheaper for the county to actually pay for the hotels than the employee. And you have to, as a statute, you have to give them an option to do actuals, which means the county pays for them, for the rooms, or per diem. With the actuals, we couldn't without credit card. No hotel will take anything but a credit card. So those are the kind of things, when you get down to it, the procurement-wise, when you make sure that everything is, you can use this, but it doesn't go at the credit cards stay in our office. They take control of it. And I'm confident that we can keep that and also save money, and it's easier. So the votes on Tuesday, I was afraid to go down to the clerk's office all day because it was like crazy madhouse. So the next day I walked in and I was like, can I come in? And I said, how did it go? And they said it went really, really well. So everything went well. On the 14th, before our regular commission meeting at 4, we'll be canvassing the votes. So it's a special meeting that the clerk will give the results to the board to approve. So that's...
That's tomorrow.
No, it's on the 14th. It changed.
Oh, nobody sent me that.
Yeah, it's an email. You'll see it. The reason why we thought we had to do it, tomorrow, because we had a certain amount of time, but the statute's changed, and we don't. We have enough time to do it on a regular, on the 14th, rather than a special meeting. So, talk about Open Meetings Act and all that. That's exactly why we're trying to add it to it. Legislative priorities, and oh yeah, my soccer team, Arsenal, it's not doing very well. So my poor staff are not happy at the moment. I want to do a warm welcome to Sarah. I appreciate you coming. It's hard. It's hard stepping in, and you're learning so many new things and employees. And if you need any help, and I know that Laura has said the same thing, just call us.
Thank you.
Call Paul, call anybody, and we can get through it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Oh, I do have one thing.
I have one question.
Yes.
Because I pay in person, because 10 years ago, I chewed up my check and never got it back. But what I was going to say is, how come, like, I have land by Blue Water Lake in McKinley County, and the envelope says McKinley County, and ours says Denver, Colorado?
Oh, Wendy, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so the treasurer's office, they did a program with Wells Fargo, it's called Lockbox. So if you choose to mail in your payment, it actually goes to Denver first at a Wells Fargo processing center. And in turn, what they do is they upload a file via email to the treasurer's office, and that file will hold multiple payments, including yours, and they'll upload that to pay the taxes.
So it's quicker?
Yeah,
Okay.
like streamlining things.
Okay.
It's a good question.
Yeah, I was doing it in person, because my check was chewed up 1 year.
That's a
I
real
had it 10 years ago, never came back.
I'm sorry.
The post office chewed up the envelope. I pay in person all the time. Both counties I pay in person.
That's a really good question, thank you. We did have one extra thing, investments. We couldn't even think about investments last year. We didn't even know how much money we had in our accounts. We didn't know where we were. We have an investment committee, and they had their meeting, and they're going to recommend to the commission we have some CDs maturing, and with Paul's help and expertise, we are going to get a much better rate. We're government, so it's not high risk, just so you know. We don't go out there and go, ooh, let's, try to make, no. It's all 100%, but we're allowed to do this for the investment. So if you think about it, with understanding how to budget and how to spend in the right areas, we have, how much do we have that we're going to be putting in, Paul?
So the county has reserve requirements for their bonds as well as state required reserves. To meet that, it's about a little over 3.7 million, but we're going to have I think a little over 4 million to invest. The state reserves will fluctuate depending on expenditures. They've got a formula on what the reserve requirement is. For counties, it's 3/12 of budgeted expenditures.
Oh, 1/12.
And municipalities, it's 1/12. And our road department also has a reserve requirement with the state for 3/12 or 1/12, like a municipality. So a little over 4 million that we'll reinvest.
And you're going to recommend to the commission a certain investment?
Yes. So the county has just passed an investment policy, and they've got criteria. A lot of it meets, we try to meet the Constitution. Got a little inside joke about the Constitution. So the state law says 50, you can invest and 50% can be collateralized or, secured. But the Constitution states it's got to be 100% insured or collateralized. So our investment policy, we're going on the side of the Constitution. And there's also 3 other criteria: the liquidity, the interest rates, and what was it? Liquidity, interest rates.
Oh no, I slept since yesterday. No.
Yeah.
We had a really good meeting.
And if it's insured, yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
So it was very informative, and
Yes, it was. It was.
so thank you. We go higher than what the statutes say. So you can't go any lower, but you can actually get more stricter. So you feel like you're not, this is why we have a finance department, and we have a committee, and ultimately, ultimately it's the Board of Commission. They are the Board of Finance for the county, for the commission. Not the treasurer, not the clerk, not the manager. No, the commission will choose what they decide they will do. The treasurer receives money, and she is on the committee, so she helps us. But ultimately, it's about knowledge, experience, education. We will then be confident to go to the commission and recommend what we'd like to do, and we have to have our ducks in a row. We have to know what we're talking about, so they can have they have good information to give a good decision. So with that, I have one more thing. I actually went to a conference, and we were learning about promoting government, local government. And Bernalillo County, I know they're a large county, but the manager there has done it's so cool. She went with all the principals of schools, and she says, we need to teach these kids what government is, what we do as a government. And so she put a book together as a curriculum for 1st to 6th graders, and each page has a certain department. Have you seen this? And what they did is to draw these kids in. Every department has an emoji of real people, of who in the county or the city, and they've questions, and you have to get permission, and they will use that as a curriculum base for a certain amount of time to teach what we do, what the commission does, what our jobs are, how we get from A to Z. And I'm really excited because I'm going to bring it to the commission, because I think it will be a huge promotion for what we actually do, you know, how we get things done. And sometimes it is horrible because it takes forever. Prime example, the more money that you need for your road, I know all of you thinking like, it can't cost that much money, right? I mean, this is ridiculous. How many phases and government? It is, I'm going to say it, it's crap sometimes. It's ridiculous. But we have to jump through these hoops because it's everybody's money. So we need to make sure that every penny is used correctly.
I want to compliment the people at the county building, because when I got my pre-taxes, they took away my veterans exemption. I went over there in a few minutes, they put it right back on.
Yep.
And so
Good.
it was so nice, and they did it so quickly.
Great.
You know, so.
My assessors department, they're doing great. I'm so proud of them. They've worked so hard, and it's really, they can
Yeah,
see
they're so
now.
efficient, so nice, and very
Thank you.
polite, and got it done right away.
I will let them know. They need to hear that. They work really hard.
It is a 4 million for investment. We have that much money left over after expenses are met.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
Jen-
we can't, yeah. That's money that, when you start controlling your budget, you have money that you don't put in your budget, right? There's a difference between cash balances and budget. Budget is a moving, breathing document that can be moved, changed.
Yeah,
And
we have over 5 million in investments. It's just one of our larger accounts is maturing on the 21st, thus the need to get these questions answered on where to reinvest and which ones follow the policy.
so, yeah, it's just basically this year has been this sort of cleanup time that we've been educating as well as spending the money in the correct funds, from the correct funds. Fire funds. Don't use operating funds when you have money in the fire funds. You know, don't use operating funds when you have EMS money first. Those kind of things. And it's working. And that's how we can invest and not get in trouble. I mean, we should never have gotten to the position we were in, because that was just, yes. And so it's nice to see us coming out and controlling and also educating as well. And trying to learn all together as a group, because we're going to be able to do these big things. Now our meeting is December the 3rd, my first meeting out of 3 for forecast for the 5, what the county wants to do, where do you want to be, within the 5 years and 10-year forecast plan. We're there now. Last year we were not there. We were reacting to everyday mess. But right now I'm going to recommend having this workshop to talk about, and it's going to be open to the public. And we're going to say, what do we want? What do you want from the county? What do you feel the role is of the county? So I'm excited about that because we'll be moving forward, and then we'll put a plan together, and then I'll bring all my, Judy and Wendy and Paul and everybody, and we can actually put a plan together and get it done. So my door's open, come on in. It's a bit crazy in our office, but you're welcome. Yes?
Does the county have any plan for projects on Route 66 on District 1 in Cabero?
I don't think so yet. Come to the forecast meeting. I do have, Anna Larson is going to do a presentation on the 14th, and she's been doing a lot of economic stats for the county. I want to know where we're at, what's changed, and she's doing it because she's doing the census as well, so she's going to be collaborating that with Economic Drive. What can we do? What are we missing? How can we address the Route 66? Should we? Where should, all these things we're doing behind the scenes right now because we're starting from zero.
I'd just like everybody to know we've got last commission meetings PowerPoint talking about, we've got our investment information, our current actuals for the first quarter, my notes to that, and our current adjusted budget as approved by DFA. So if you guys would like a copy of this.
So the next meeting, all my staff are at the DFA conference, so it's just me. So don't expect a PowerPoint. I'm just going to pretend to be Paul and kind of, wing it. But he does do a PowerPoint every month, except this month. So please don't come just to look at this, because it's not going to happen.
Why can you not be inclusive?
I've asked.
I'll make one for you.
I've asked Lucero. He's not micromanaging. Yes.
So you had brought up the hospital earlier.
Yes.
Have they said they're going to do upgrades, or is it
They want to.
Yeah, I mean, I know they have all the money in the bank, but is there something that the county can hold them to doing it?
No. So I'm having learning this on a, we've had another meeting with the state auditors. So what we know is when we have the contract in place, we're then saying, you guys are the experts. You have this operation. You are operating the funds and the daily operation of the hospital. That means that you are able to say, we need to upgrade, let's do it. That's your job. We as a county, we don't know what needs of a hospital is. That's why we get a good company, vendor I would call it, just like every other thing that you do an agreement with. They are the ones that are in control of that.
For the betterment of the community?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, absolutely. So we're just going to continue going along. The commission have not directed me to look at any further into selling the hospital with all the information that we've learned. But the hospital is a really important part of the county. And so with this management agreement and our legal team, I'm really confident that we can get a very healthy, well-worded, understanding agreement so we won't ever get to where we're at. So everybody understands whose role is what and what we can do and what we can't do. That's the legals team's job, and that's what they're doing right now. So I'm confident they want to get it done by January.
Well, just like, I mean, they have all that money, bring in more doctors, do something, like, how do you guys, later on, you just keep talking to lawyers and go, what?
Well, the management agreement is going to have that in there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We can add stuff like, we expect this. We need reports of this. That is in the actual management agreement of the hospital. But utilizing the money, it has to go back to the health and welfare of our community, of every single one of us. So it has to go back to the hospital. So if they need...
It can't be used for salaries
No.
or anything like that. Well, it's just, normally you think not for profit, and you see what they have sitting in the bank, and you go, when start spending some of it, maybe
Well,
not all of it.
I think that that's one of the things that they want to do, that $20-some million that they have is to upgrade or rebuild or something with the ER. It's going to take a super change.
And they can.
And then I talked to Thomas Wayden about cells. With the inmates and big tax program, it is put in moves. Where when I was running Western, Rural Hospital had like 8 cells. And that's where the inmates went. And that's where the correction officers, that
Put
was.
in the general,
Now they put it in general, they outside, it's not right, but I got the way in the other day, I was looking at maybe 2 or 3 cells. You got 3 prisons with, I don't know, but 1,500 inmates.
yeah, I've been in there with somebody in the emergency room, and there's somebody next to a detoxing, where you're like going, what's going on?
That's why the upgrades, that's why the security,
Is that what the hospital's looking at upgrading, is the ER?
and
Expanding it, making
yes,
it bigger?
safer, because it's not it's not in compliance. So they can't get more funding through the state because it's not in compliance. So it all goes round circle again of let's upgrade the ER so it's safe. They can't do if you look at new hospitals, they don't have the curtains in the ER anymore. They're actual rooms for security. And that's what they're looking at.
On the tough end, would you be the county overseeing this thing? I mean, because they could go on trips to Hawaii. and
They don't do
take
that
classes.
because they have, that's the thing with the management agreement. So that'll go through, but we can't say yes or, if it's benefiting the county and we hire this vendor to operate the hospital, we need to let them operate the hospital. They know what they're doing. You know, we can't run detentions and we can't run hospitals. We'll say it again. That's not what we're here for.
You know, we're very fortunate though. The rural communities, a lot of them don't have hospitals.
Yes.
And they have outrageous prices in their hospitals that we don't. And, because I know, because I have, anyway, family members in other places that don't. And the thing is that you have MRIs here, you have CAT scans, you have all the new mammography and stuff. You have a lot of stuff here, you don't have to go out of town for anything.
That's right.
Okay? And, so, there's all kinds of facilities here. We don't have to go out of town for all that stuff. All that testing and all this other stuff is
great.
all done here,
Yep. And that's what we need to promote, and that's what we need to get really good at, and we continue to thrive.
Yeah,
So-
we got good surgeons here. And, but, it's like anything else. I had a friend just had his gallbladder out, some other surgeries, And I just had one of these lumps taken off my back. It was benign, but it straightened out my muscle here at town in the arm. So it came out fine, So we have nice people that know how to do things. We're fortunate to have these doctors that do these things, And some of my Dr. Church has been around for a long while, so
Yep.
Sarah, did you want to share anything about what's going on in Milan?
I have been the interim manager for 2 weeks. And I'm not sure how long that's gonna last. Milan PD did get their new units in. The fire department has 2 new pickups that are supposed to be in probably the first part of the year.
They look really nice.
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot of updates. The Haystack project and the E Street project, they'll be doing a presentation on November 13th at 10:30. I don't know which one they're going to start with, but that is about all the updates that I have right now. But I would like to thank you both for offering to help me out.
Anytime. It's hard. Be nice to her. It's scary when everybody's bombarding stuff with,
Any other questions, topics?
I was just thinking,
Just like, as you're aware, the quadrathon for 2020 is well underway, and I just wondered if you can give me any heads up on any changes that are going to occur with the streets, and I'm particularly interested in the High Street project. Is that going to interfere with us?
Yeah, we'll be done with all paving. The city will be for the High Street stuff before February because of the cold weather, but I'll make sure our staff are aware and think about that as they plan stuff.
Well, we're not going to totally close Second Street this year, are we?
I don't know. See, that's up to the quad. The
Well, they
quad
wrote it
plans
one way
their
last
route.
year, and then the city changed it.
No, we followed the quad plan, didn't we, as far as street closure?
Well, there was some confusion between your street manager at the time, but I don't know, Scott, I think our intent is to only close one lane, particularly now that we have at least a smooth street to run on. So I don't think we're gonna close,
It should be completed by then.
actually, I'm not concerned about Second Street, but there's a major project going on High Street.
Right.
That we're already into cold weather, and I didn't know whether that's gonna get delayed or.
Yeah, let me find out. I don't know the time frame, but I know our paving, we're planning on paving that, and I don't think we're gonna make it this season. But I do see that the group that's doing the sidewalk or the curb and gutter started.
And we'll be okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, I was concerned about the repaving, because we've got to submit our traffic plan to the highway department, to the city and everyone, probably next month.
Okay. And First Street.
When will that go final? When, I mean, like, what meeting can we go ask? Is it gonna be closed or is it gonna be open?
As soon as we get word back from the city whether there's any changes,
Okay.
then we will most likely, Scott, just resubmit the plan that we did last year. I don't see any change, because that costs us.
Well, like I said, you guys had it one way, and then the day of, it became something different, and that's why I'm asking now, before we even get there.
We actually submit that plan to the city for their approval, so that's where that'll happen.
Let me know.
Okay.
I'll even go to the meeting, because long story.
Yeah, I don't think there's a meeting for
No,
that.
that goes
They
through
submit a design.
the code enforcement officer, so we probably need to work with that office
Yeah, well,
to look at the plan and see if there's something we need to change in it.
Yes.
On the corner of Roosevelt and Lobo Canyon Road, there's a stop signs, stoplights there. And a friend and I, twice a week, are in that area, and we've noticed that people are running stoplights. And the other day, I ran 2 of them. I get into the intersection and the yellow light turns red very, very quickly. Well, the other day I had an opportunity to approach that stoplight and count how many seconds the yellow light is on. It was about 2 seconds. So there's not enough time for someone going through that intersection to utilize the yellow light correctly. So it needs to be readjusted so that people have time to stop. But we've seen, right now, if we have a green light at that intersection and someone is turning, we wait. We don't use the green light until everyone has gone through that intersection, because they don't have time to get through.
Okay, we'll let the DOT know, because that's their intersection. Yeah. Any others?
I was just thinking,
After this meeting, if anybody doesn't have anything to do, get your screwdriver, come to the cemetery, and we're gonna set flags for the veterans.
Oh, lovely.
So, anybody wants to volunteer? There's just 4 of us, for over 300 vets. So.
What kind of screwdriver? What kind of screwdriver?
Screwdriver, around so you can set the
What
flag.
kind? Is it Phillips? Is it? Oh, make a pole? Okay. I'd like to say, how can you start a screwdriver?
Yes.
I was gonna say, like trying to get movement to the forest, right? Why not try to have like a 66 marathon or a 66 bike thing, Route 66, for 25-mile race or whatever, just, something like that to get people to come for those things. Because people come to marathons and they come to bike things, long biking things. And you could use 66 or something like that. Another thing, if they want to do something with mountain bikes, they could go Bonita Canyon, have a little race, go through Bonita Canyon, all those roads up to the Sunnis, right? The Forest Service wouldn't have a problem with that, would they?
You'd have to fill out the permit.
Yeah, but otherwise, I was thinking of some of those things like that, but if the recreation fund thought about it, could have a marathon, because people from here go up to Albuquerque to marathons. They do bike races they go to, but you could, you should put Route 66 or something on here or something like that. might attract a lot of people from out of town.
We actually do have 2 races like that. We have the Tour de Acoma.
Yeah,
It's a 25 and a 50 miles.
That's out there.
But I mean, it's close, so I feel like it, we do get, and then we also
We have the Quartz Crusher that the
Yes,
Cibola
the 24
Trails
hour
put
one.
That's right,
on.
the one up in the mountain.
Well, if they
Yeah.
start getting more events, they'll get business, kind of like we used to have a bike rally and we had a motorcycle shop on Saturday Avenue.
Right,
The more events we have, you'll get businesses that come with it. You can't just have them come here and wait, you know, they kind of have to have something that brings them money, or they're not gonna sit here.
Yes.
I just want to, I have a sales pitch. The Rotary Club, in our efforts to keep the backpack program running, we have a bull elk hunt that the Laguna gave us to raffle off. We're selling 150 tickets, $50 each. Anybody's interested, please see me or the colleagues, or just about anybody in the community that's in Rotary, so. Thank you.
I have one more.
Yes.
We are working with Rockin' J Reawakenings Ranch that's
Hey, wait a minute, I'm making a
for
pitch.
veterans that are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder.
You took them out, you know.
And we're doing dog trainings right now. They work with equines and dogs. And right now, the dog training is free in our community. We've been at the dog park for a while, but now that it's winter, it's not going to work. So we're looking for an indoor facility to do the dog trainings here in Grants. And it's going to be a Tuesday or a Wednesday afternoon, from probably 4 to 6. So that's what we need right now, is a place to have the dog trainings.
Thank you.
Yes.
My name is Sylvia Martin, I'm with CCS Staffing Services. We see lots of money going out to contractors on the roads and stuff, and that's great that the money's coming in here and we're getting improvements. But we're looking to see what we can do to keep the local people employed. We have lots of industrial construction type personnel that live here in Grants that would like to be exposed to the work that is here. I'm not sure where the contractors are coming from exactly, but how do we go about figuring out who the subcontractor is, who the contractors are, so that we can say, we have these people, we have skilled people, unskilled people, entry-level people, all kinds of people in the local area who want to remain here, but there's just not a whole lot to do. So who do I contact at the city?
So you would contact Don Jaramillo, who's our project coordinator, and Judy Harasic is the project coordinator for the county.
Or Wendy, if you're at the RFP side of subcontracting.
So all the projects have to be put out to bid, and so we're not getting a whole lot of groups bidding on them, and we would definitely like more bids because we're more likely to get a more cost-effective program if we have more bids. I think one of our last bids we just put out, I think we only had one contractor bid. Recently for our projects, TLC and AUI are the two companies that pretty much have bid on our projects, and we haven't been able to get any others. Now, a lot of those companies that then bid on it, they have their trained staff. So I know TLC has a trained group that all they do is cement work and the sidewalks and the curb and gutter, and they go from their project to project doing that. And so sometimes I can see where, you know, we could try to stipulate that they hire local, but I think it'll be really tough because their crews have been trained to do certain work, and then to try to bring somebody new in to train them for a short period in our community might be kind of tough. But I'm sure there's some basic laborers that they could try to hire locally.
Now we wouldn't qualify to bid on the contract. We don't have a contracting license.
Right.
But we could certainly work with that contractor on the subcontract.
So, what we could do, Wendy, tell me to shut up if I'm not right, but what we could do is get your information. And when we do go through the horrible process of the bid process, and we we can actually give that information to the bidder that wins the bid. Can we do that, Wendy?
Yeah, we can, just like now.
Because we want local people to absolutely benefit
Right,
from
it
this.
helps our community.
That's the only way I can think that we can do that to help you, so you're not looking at the newspaper at our website on a daily basis. But absolutely, call Wendy, and we can get her name, your name, and we can do that through the bid process.
Laura, thank you for all you do in the community, even though I live in the county, but coming through town here and seeing all the new
Isn't it
streets
nice?
and all the improvements, the library and all the other stuff, and just, Second Street is nice in front of high school with all the paved stuff, and the new paths going. So I mean, there's been a lot of progress made, and this, fixing that street by the library, by the county building, and the, what do you call it, mine museum. So there's all these nice things been going on that's been 100% better than they used to be. And so it's really
Thank
nice that what you're doing in the community all these years, which wasn't done before. So it's nice to see all these improvements being done.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thanks, that's nice.
Okay, well, thank all of you for coming, we appreciate your feedback.